Hey guys, Randy here from Smart Dog School. Look, I want to answer a question today. It was asked to me a little bit ago, and it's concerning methodologies in dog training. Usually I steer clear of these conversations because most people that are in the dog training industry have already got their mind made up, and they don't want to be convinced of anything else, yet they don't want to even talk about other options. Simply they want to argue against the other options and say that they're right and everybody else is wrong. We make a joke sometimes. You put 10 trainers in a room and one trainer goes to the restroom, and the only thing that all of us will agree on is the one who went to the restroom doesn't know what they're talking about. And it's a little joke, we play around with everybody. But let me be the first to tell you this, if you haven't already heard, there simply isn't a purely positive only training system out there, okay? There's not. Anybody that knows anything about training, that likes to reference back to the scientific methods of training, which I also try to prevent talking about, even though I'm kind of a geek when it comes to that. The four quadrants of training, you got 2 in the positive and 2 in the negative. One's reinforcement, the other's punishment. Everybody's heard of it before. If for some reason somebody is wanting to only do purely positive training, and they don't give a reward when the animal expects it, which could be any time, all the time, they smell it, they expect it, that right there is negative punishment, which is on the opposite side of the scale, okay? Negative doesn't always mean bad, even though most of the time it is. Negative means subtraction. It pulls it away. So you remove the reward to decrease the behavior, okay? Reinforcement and punishment, all it means is making behaviors stronger and making behaviors weaker. The animal is going to determine what they like and don't like. The animal is also going to determine, whether or not it was worth trying to avoid, which is punishment, or acquire, which is reinforcement. The animal makes that decision. You have to have multiple ways of acquiring behaviors and multiple ways of stopping behaviors, okay? This is where the 4 A's of dog training comes in at. Acquire is the first step. It's the only way to start dog training is you have to get the behavior to happen first. There's many ways to do that. Yet, after you acquire, you have to make it automatic, which is get it over and over and over and over again, right? Create a habit. The third is application. You have to start generalizing it everywhere. And the fourth is always. That just means maintenance, okay? But going back to the question, the purely positive end of this, it simply cannot have purely positive only. You can't do it. It's impossible, because I guarantee you that you're going to withhold that food when you're not getting the behavior you want, which is negative punishment, okay? What we do here at Smart Dog School is we focus on every quadrant. We focus on the whole spectrum, guys. SMART training stands for see, mark, and reward training. We want to see the behavior happen. We want to mark it with a yes or a clicker, and we want to reward it somehow that the animal sees that it's rewarding, to increase the probability of the behavior because they want to do it again to acquire the reward. On the other end of the spectrum, when we get unwanted behaviors, jumping, barking, nipping, you name it, okay, pulling out the door, pulling on the leash, the only way to stop an unwanted behavior right then is through the right side of the scale, the right side of the quadrant, which is punishment. You can't stop a unwanted behavior without some form of punishment. Now, the animal is going to determine what's the punisher and what's the reinforcer, because it's not a punishment if the animal doesn't want to work to prevent it from happening again. They don't want to avoid it, okay? Punishers are working all the time in our lives, every part of our lives. I drove in here today, I put a seatbelt on because the annoying beeping, right? I turned that off. That's negative reinforcement. I'll talk about that later if you'd like to, let me know. But I went the speed limit for a couple reasons. I'm in avoidance. Okay, the speed limit's there for my protection, right, to keep me safe. Well, I'm also avoiding a ticket by going the speed limit. So I'm in avoidance. There's been a punisher applied in the past. What was that punisher? I probably got a ticket. That's what happened. Okay, I want to avoid that in the future. If I didn't care about tickets, if I had all the money in the world, I could pay all the fees, and I never get in trouble, then that wouldn't have been an adequate punisher for me. As a matter of fact, it's probably not, because it doesn't happen every single time it happens, and it wasn't high of a punisher to be like, holy crap, I'm never driving again. Okay, there's a huge difference between punishers for humans and punishers for dogs. They can't tell us what they're gonna wanna avoid. We have to experiment. They also can't tell us what they like as rewarding. If the dog's full, food's not a rewarder. If the dog doesn't like a squeak toy is not a reward. Or sometimes a simple touch or a look from a human is enough reward to a dog to say, I like that, I'm gonna do it again, right? Dogs have evolved to this point by manipulating humans to get everything they want, and that's okay. We can accept that. The fact that they're so cute is one of the reasons we like them so much and how we got so many different breeds out there, okay? But going back to the general conversation, and it was about, do you use purely positive techniques only? No, no one does. I know Smart Dog School doesn't. Do I use food, or we use food as a reinforcer? Absolutely. That's the most primary reinforcer out there. That's what it's called. They have to eat. If I can control that food and it comes from me every time when they're doing something I like, voila, the behavior is more probable to happen. That's positive reinforcement, right? If for some reason I withhold that food when they're doing something I don't like, that's negative punishment. I punish them for not doing what I want. And that's exactly what everybody does. The other two forms are negative reinforcement. That's anytime your dog pulls on a leash. When your dog pulls on a leash and he stops pulling on the lead by yielding to you, he is getting negative reinforced. So the pressure is released to increase a probability. That's what reinforcement means, okay? So if you're a purely positive only trainer, at least you think you are, and your dog goes to a tight leash and then it slacks off, you just negatively reinforce pulling. That's what you did. If you say yes afterwards or click him reward, then you positively reinforced not pulling or standing in that position, okay? The other side is positive punishment. And as silly as that sounds, positive punishment just means adding something to the equation, adding something to the behavior to increase the probability. Aside from, talking geeky all the time, I would almost guarantee that almost every training session, depending on how it's worked, has every single avenue in it. You've got positive and negative, you've got punishment and reinforcement, and you need to learn all of them, because once you as a trainer know what you're doing, you can control it better. You can plan better. You can function better because you know what works and what doesn't and what you have to do differently, okay? I didn't make this video as an argumentative video at all, which I'm sure it will get to. I made this video simply to say, us at Smart Dog School use every quadrant that we can get our hands on. we use every tool out there we can get our hands on. We feed with food. We use prong collars. We walk a lot with structure and rules and discipline, and we hold dogs accountable. We do all of that. We also reward with literally every type of reward that we can find, okay? We include our dogs in our daily lives, and we exclude them when they're in the crate and when we can't pay attention to them, okay? We teach the dog a triple R protocol, what should we call it? We teach them practical behaviors, guys. We teach them to recall when we say their name and come. We teach them to relax on cue, calm on command. And we teach them all about restraint. That, restraint is on a leash, restraint is in a kennel. To behave, to simply chill out and don't do anything that's gonna make any other human mad or another dog react, okay? Anyway, that's enough for today. I just wanted to answer the question that, in my personal opinion, you cannot do purely positive only training. And as soon as people understand that, as soon as people admit that, then this whole debate out there about what type of training do you do? I only want to do purely positive only. It'll go away, and our focus, our attention will be more on the dogs than it is on than it is on what other people think. Because that's where this whole thing comes from. If we focus on our dogs, we produce good results. We have really good relationships with our dogs, and we enjoy our dogs to the fullest by making them the best version of themselves they can possibly be. I can't think of nothing better than that, guys. So, again, stop worrying about what other people think. Stop getting into these debates. Let's just train dogs. Let's work together, all of us. If we all work together, there's one species out there that's going to benefit other than humans, and it's the dogs, the canines, the ones we're working for, okay? Again, Randy, Smart Dog School, happy to talk to you guys. I'm glad you listened. If I can help you in any way, give me a shout anytime. Take care.